Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Jessica Canellis, and I would like to thank you guys for coming to our comprehensive financial insights with Portus today. If you guys have any questions throughout the event, please throw them down in the question box, and Bill would be happy to answer them. Or if you have questions afterwards, you can contact any single one of us here. You can contact Jim Castellano, myself, Jessica Canellis, or James Cooey, who you guys would work with for your made to manage. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to Bill from Portus since we're on a little bit of a time crunch. So we'll go ahead and get that started.
Okay, great, Jessica. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. So, and I assume that you can see my slide here.
It says it's waiting to
Wait,
view
wait,
your screen.
I have to click another button. I think you can now.
Yep, I can see your demo or your PowerPoint.
All right,
Sorry.
awesome. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us today for this Lunch and Learn. A couple of quick slides just to set the stage, and then we're going to go jump straight into the solution and show it to you. Some just quick background about us. Let me go through the animation here. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary. So we've been around for a while, and one of the pieces of our secret sauce is that while we provide a software solution, we all come from a manufacturing background. So we like to say that we've walked in your shoes, and hopefully as I show you some of the functionality here, you feel like, yeah, these people get it. This is exactly what I would want to put together if I was analyzing whatever dynamic I'm looking at: backlog, accounts receivable, inventory, so on and so forth. We have a lot of experience on Made to Manage, over 20 customers, and we've been building on top of Made to Manage since 2012. So you would be benefiting from a very mature solution as it relates to Made to Manage. And if I had to put in one wordy sentence what we do, we provide a curated, meaning everything is planned and done already. There's nothing you have to build yourself. Real time, meaning it is connected to your Made to Manage database and giving you up to the second information analytics. And you're going to see there's just a peeling of the onion approach. Let's look at this. That looks interesting. Let's learn more about that. Now that looks interesting. Let's learn more about that. And you'll see and hopefully conclude that your users would find this very easy to use, because it's like a Google search, Amazon shopping type of experience. It's the browser. There's no strange menus to learn, commands to learn, so on and so forth. Today we have two audiences in mind. For existing Portus customers that say, hey, I didn't know that was there. That's good to see, and I'm going to take that back to my team. For prospective customers, it's, don't give me the sales and marketing spiel. I just want to see what it looks like. Then I'll see if I want to learn more, and I'll ask PeopleSense to organize a personalized demo. Last point about today, that it is a lunch and learn, so we want you to learn, but we're also going to treat you to a Starbucks digital gift card to the people that stay with us for the next 30 minutes. One last slide before you go in. This is our high-level sales process. We're at the very beginning stages. Through some kind of communications from PeopleSense, we've managed to convince you to attend the webinar. If you like what you see, we can do a personalized demo for you and others at your company to be very specific about your needs. If the demo goes well, we offer a 30-day free trial, because until you see this functionality with your own data, you won't really get the full feel for it. And then we are very convinced that this is a game-changing solution that is going to be a keeper. So our pricing models are all built around monthly subscriptions with no long-term commitments, month to month, but customers don't cancel, so we don't need to force them into long-term commitments. So really the goal today is for you just to say, do I see enough to warrant investing in the next step, which do I want to graduate to the demo? So with that, let's go into the application. So when we install Portus in your environment, you will get to this login page. You'll terminate to some kind of a local Windows Server resource. That's how it is with almost all of our Made to Manage clients. We do have one that we host the application in the cloud for them. But whether you're with Made to Manage in the cloud or with Made to Manage on-prem, we usually deploy this inside your network for two reasons. One, it makes sure that all the data stays inside of your firewall, and two, because of its proximity to the data source, the response time is fast, although it's kind of negligible. Everything is fast anyway. So once you have the address to get to this login page, you will input a username and password. I'll go ahead and put that in here. Actually, I want to go to a different site where we've cleaned up some things. And once you put your username and password in correctly, you'll be inside of Portus. That administrative module is key because an administrator on your side can control who has access to what. You probably want anybody to be able to look up information about a part, but you don't want everybody to be able to see GL information, as an example. Inside of Portus, it's organized in a series of tabs, and if you click on any tab, various reporting options start on the left-hand side. We're going to be very focused for today's session on financial reporting and financial analysis. If you don't know, I think you do know that in August, PeopleSense helps us organize a series of Lunch and Learn. So there will be one of these every Thursday for the next 4 weeks, including today, on different topics. So let's get started. Let's start by saying, let's just go through as many items as we can in the next 25 minutes as it relates to financial analysis. There's a lot of good functionality for reporting of top line revenue dynamics. Let's start with backlog, and we're going to go look at open sales orders in the system. So while that wheel turned real quick, Portus made a real-time connection to a demo Made to Manage database and came back and said, well, you have $28 million worth of backlog. I'm showing it to you on a monthly basis. Backlog meaning open sales orders. Of course, we could have decided to include other statuses. That would be up to the user. And we're seeing it by customer. Past due is all of your orders whose due date has come and gone. If you're in the latest version of Made to Manage, you may have other options to sort this by request date. As people move, this is a 6.01 database, so you only see due date in here, but you can also sort it on request date. We have customers that have set up their own fast forms promise date. We can add that in here, but right now this is by due date. So past due represents $2.8 million worth of open sales orders whose due date is in the past, and then we have it by month going forward. This is a special type of presentation which we call a Portus pivot. It's our poor man's, if you will, or equivalent to Excel pivoting. So I'm looking at my backlog by customer by month. I may say, let's look at it by quarter, and I want to see it by product class. So now when I hit filter, I'm seeing product classes down the side. I have changed the view to be a quarterly number. The past due number is still the past due number because this is just all sales orders that have a date earlier than today. But I can also use these filters on the side and say, hey, for my customer Nordstrom, I want to see what my backlog is by product class. Okay, that was not very eventful. It's all one product class. But you can kind of tell, because I know the audience here are financial people, how you can kind of slice and dice this data to give you whatever it is that you're interested in. Now, also, every number in here is drillable. So if you say, oh, we have 29,000 of past due backlog to Nordstrom, what is that? If I click on that, now I'll go to the backlog pivot drill, and I will see the sales order number details with part numbers and all kinds of other information about those sales orders that adds up to the 29K that we were talking about. And then there's further drills from here, so you kind of can slowly peel the onion and see what's going on with the backlog. I can also say, let's say I ask for it by part number. I can also say, hey, show this to me in units, not amount. So now I see how many units are in backlog, again, past due, and I ask for it by quarter. I can say, now change it to monthly, and I see the months looking forward, again, with the ability to drill on any one of these numbers and see the breakdown of those 25 units and so forth. So really, this one backlog report is an interactive combination where you can produce all kinds of different reports, and there's a lot of customization we can do for customers. Different customers may want different filters here. This is pretty comprehensive of slicing and dicing dynamics of sales orders, but customer A doesn't need to have, because if customer A has territory here, customer B may want to look at something, some other way to slice and dice it. We have a technique called forking where the experience of Portus is different from one customer to the next. So that's good that we can look at backlog, but you're trained on most of Portus now. What I've done here is about 80% of what you do in Portus. Let's keep going. I'll show you another 20, 25%, and you'll be certified Portus user. So once you know backlog, the other three reports, bookings, billings, and shipments, are in the same family, but they have the same interface. Now, when I run billings, it's going to now say, go show me all the invoices that have gone out. Again, it's monthly, and it now shows a historical trend of invoices. So already in August, we've shipped 1.1 million, but we see the monthly trend. I can say, no, show this to me quarterly. And then again, same thing, drilling and the filtering, and I want to report by salesperson and see what's going on by salesperson. All of that is available. And then similarly with shipments, instead of invoices going out, you want to look at shippers going out. They should probably be about the same numbers, but you can invoice for things that you haven't shipped, and you can ship things that you don't invoice. So all of that will be separately in here. So that's kind of the BBB series of reports. After we were proud of ourselves and we created these, customers came back to us and said, well, I like the fact that we can drill and see the details of something, but sometimes I just want to see all the details of top line dynamics, and then I'll decide what I want to do. So in response to that, we created the BBB detail report. So the BBB detail report says, don't give me this fancy slicing and dicing. So if I say, give me all the details of backlog, and I hit go here, it's just going to give me a large grid that shows all of my open orders with as much detail as possible about each of them. So here is 1,226 open line items. Again, this is a 6.01 database, but you know, in after that, where they added, Aptian added the concept of an line status and a release status, you would see that in here if you were looking at that. But now we have a large grid that has all kinds of information about the sales order. If there was any job that was, if it's a make to order sales order, you would see the job number there, all kinds of dates, the ship to customer, city, state, what is the part number. So it's like a large piece of data. And then I'll show you some of the rest of the 20% of training that you need. When you have a grid like this, these three dots are very helpful, because once you click on them, you can say, for example, I want to sort in descending order by the backlog amount, because I want to see the biggest items at the top. Or you can say, now that I see that, I am hoping to sort this by the salesperson Joanne Gomes. Where is she? There's Joanne. So I'll filter. So filtering on a particular column and or sorting on a particular column is some of the manipulation that you can do. And then also another key manipulation you need to know about is when we have a grid like this, you'll always have the ability to export this to Excel. So if I click on that, it's going to take all of this, put it into an Excel sheet, and it's going to say, look, Excel is going to be like, I don't know where this came from, but let me see. I think I have some spreadsheets open here, but it's going to come back when I open it. Let me actually go to my download so you can see it. So if I open that guy, Excel is gonna say, hey, I'm getting some stuff from outside of Excel, and now you can see that I have a bona fide Excel spreadsheet with column and row integrity where I can, color, add formulas, whatever I want, save this off and add it as an attachment and send it to somebody, ask questions, so on and so forth. So very good interactivity with Excel as well. So let's get back to where we were. So we've gone through a bunch of items here that allow you to slice and dice the top line. I am going to now switch for the next part of our demo to another database because I want to now address, okay, that's good that we can see the top line, but we want to do some margin analysis. So there we have some tools here, like I'm going to show you sales analysis and invoice analysis. Let's just run them so we can see it. So let's say we want to do a sales analysis and it says, for what time frame. So July just ended. Let's say that we want to look at the time frame of July 1st to July 31st, and we'll just hit go here and let this run. So this is going to go through all of the billing that we did in July. It's going to go grab all of the cost information individually for each invoice that went out. And again, it's going to give you this pivot interface that's going to tell you first, let me show it to you by customer. How much did we invoice? What was the estimated cost? What was the actual cost? What was therefore our actual gross margin? And what is our efficiency percent? So we want our efficiency percents to be above 100% because that means that our actual cost was lower than our estimated cost for those billings. And then if I look at this, for example, for Atlas Security, and I say, well, this is great, but I want to see all of the details. If I click on the customer ID here, it will go grab everything that went into those numbers. I'm going to lower this a little bit. So let's just remember 30.8 million, 22.7, 21.6. So if I come over here, I'm going to see what we invoiced, what was the estimated cost, and what was the actual cost. And I'm going to see all of the details. These were the invoices, these were the shippers, these were the sales orders they were linked to. And this is more of a make to order environment. So you can see almost all of the sales orders have a particular work order that drove the cost. And then we're able to go look through that work order and all of any sub work orders and come back and give you how we did. And then you can use other sorting and filtering functionality to do further analysis from there. And same type of thing, you can say, well, I'm seeing it by customer, but I want to look at my estimator, JML, I think was one I picked previously. Okay, well, he or she only did one customer, but a particular estimator, you can also measure them to see, well, you're kind of underestimating overall, and we can go see by customer where that issue is. So with sales analysis, we've graduated from just top line analysis to margin level analysis. Another report that may be even more illustrative than what I showed you in sales analysis is invoice analysis. So let's go run invoice analysis for the month of July. And it's going to come back and give us a comprehensive view of all of the invoices that went out. Again, it's going to show us margin information, but it's going to provide some pretty powerful drills. So here were all the invoices, 836 invoices that went out, and they accounted for $3.4 million worth of revenue. And right off the get-go, I'm going to sort this in descending order by revenue. So top invoice was 89,700, that invoice number against this sales order. And as we move over, this becomes very important. The sales orders, as you know, on Made to Manage will have sources, M for make to order, S for from stock, and B for buy to order. So these will all make to order parts, and then we see the shipper, and then we see the source. So these all have job sources, and because they have job sources, we can see the actual costs by cost element, material, labor, overhead, and then the margin, and then we can also see the estimated costs. And we can see that, for example, we expected a 48% margin on this particular invoice, but we only got a 40% margin. And as we go through now, I can click on the work order number, and it says, well, this is the work order number and the material, labor, overhead costs that brought it in. And if I click on that guy now, I'm going to get to all of the main and sub jobs that basically added up to this amount. And then I can even drill further, like maybe I get interested in here, just in the top level part, we really did not do well on the labor and overhead. So if I click on the labor number, we have one drill that drills into the labor, hours, and overhead costs. So if I look at that, I see, yeah, I see by router steps, the actual hours and the estimated hours and the actual and estimated labor and overhead costs. And down here, I can even see the actual people that logged in. So for example, if I want to see who had the time in this pick operation, I can say limit this to the pick operation, and I'm going to see that it was all Paloma that did the work. If I went into any of these R assemblies, maybe that's what I should have done. If I say go show me R assembly, I'm going to see, and we had two different Operation 30 and Operation 40 that went through that work center, but I can see all the details here and see why it was that we added up to, you know, a combined 95 hours in those two operations. I can even say, show me just Operation 30, and now I can see the 19.85 hours that we see in here, who did those, and we can maybe go figure out why it took so long, because we had only allotted 2 hours for the whole thing, but all these people logged in a cumulative 19 hours. The key thing here is that you're doing this all by pointing and clicking. So it's very illustrative, and people get excited about the back button, but you know that comes standard in browsers. But now I can go back and now I can analyze the next invoice or the next invoice. But at no time should this feel intimidating to your users. Once they get used to how the reports work, they just work. And there's also goodness in that, because you have a single version of the truth, and you can start standardizing some review processes, like a margin review process or a and then we'll move on here. I'll go back to that other database because I want to show you some more information. I'm going to get even faster now. We're going to leave the revenue world and go into accounts receivable. So accounts receivable review, very quickly you get a breakdown of your accounts receivable by customer with your current and then buckets of past due. Again, using Portus grid functionality, you can say, well, show me the ones that really have a lot in this 91 plus category, and also only show them to me if they're greater than or equal to 100K. So I have 4 customers in my hit list, and I say, wow, this customer, United Healthcare Group, you know, out of the 294K that they owe us, 172 is over 90 days old. We have 158K more to ship to them. They're okay on the credit limit side, but I'm worried about these guys. I want to know more about the AR for this customer. So I'll click on the customer number. This takes me to customer aging, where I see that, oh, my entire over 90-day balance is composed of a single invoice that was sent on 1/19 It was for 440K. They still owe us 172K. What happened on that? Well, I want to know more about that invoice. I'll keep clicking. Now I see our lowest common denominator report for an invoice. So header level information, line level information, and payment details. Again, I'll kind of come back out and draw whatever conclusions I want to draw. These bubbles are important because they are a functionality we have called Portus comments, which allow you to record comments about something in Portus. They're not stored in Mates and Manage, they're stored in a Portus database, but they're very flexible compared to memo items. So I'm just going to add a quick memo item. I'm going to say added during lunch and learn on 8/7, and I will save that as a comment about the United Healthcare Group. So now if I run this report again, this red bubble, red means the last comment is less than a week old, now says that the most recent comment, as you can see, is the one we just added. If I click on it, I'll see the comment that we added, and that the last comment is also part of this report. So if you export it to Excel, you have a pretty good analytical report that tells you everything about your AR and even has commentary for you. So in that process, we drilled from AR summary to customer aging to invoice detail. I'm going to pick up speed some more and go to inventory analysis. One of my favorite reports is days of supply, which is the ability for Portus to give you an inventory turns number by part number. So it first says when I figure out my annual usage, because as you know, as finance people, annual usage is a key piece of calculating any kind of inventory velocity. What method do you want me to use? So I took the default method. I said take 90 days of usage, add to that 90 days of forward-looking demand, multiply that by 2 to get your 1 year of usage. You can see there's various methods here. So what does that do? It brings in all your part numbers with all kinds of attributes so you can slice and dice this data, but at the end of the day, it tells you that we have $12 million in inventory, and it shows you your historical and your future 90 days demand. So there's 5 used historically, 1,000 in the next 90 days in demand. That's 6 months worth. 1,005, I multiply it by 2 to get annual usage, and then I'm able to compare that annual usage to what we have on hand, 654,000. So I have a large number of days, 117,000 days. It's almost something's wrong, maybe even in the unit of measure here. Here is another example, 244 historical, 388 future. Add those up, multiply them by 2. That's my annual usage. I have 291 on hand. This one I have 83 days worth, a turns number of 4.34. So you can kind of go through that and see where you have issues from an inventory perspective. AP summary is like AR summary, but allows you to look at accounts payable and shows you your vouchered accounts payable, your RG&I, and your open PO by vendor, so you can look at your overall liabilities. And then each of these categories has its own drill. Like, what is this 12,000 we owe Aero Electronics and Invoices? I can click on that and see the exact invoice numbers and when we got them and when they're due. For RG&I, I'm not going to have invoice numbers, but I'm going to have the receiver when it came in, and we still haven't gotten the invoice for it. So that's AP summary. I'm moving even faster because I got a couple of minutes. In the financial statements, which is an area that we're starting to develop, let's say that July just ended, so you want to look at the trial balance as of July 31st. So when I run that, I'm going to see the beginning balance, the change, and the ending for the month, the quarter, and the year as far as July 31st is concerned. So this is a normal calendar company, so you're going to see that the month and quarter numbers are exactly the same because July is the first month of the third quarter for them. But you see the year numbers are different here. So if I wanted to say, well, let me see the changes in my trade receivables from a GL perspective, I can click on that and I will get a account analysis accounting for that change, and I'll see payments coming in as the negatives. Actually, these are debits that are reducing AR, and then these are the invoices, these are the credits reducing AR, and then these are the invoices debiting AR. And on balance, AR went down by 91K, and we have these reference columns, so if it's an AR entry from the AR subledger, reference 1 is the customer, reference 2 is either the invoice or the check number or remittance number, so I can do further analysis on that. So let me stop at the scheduled end. I've shown you maybe 10 to 15% of what there is in Portus. I haven't even shown you everything that there is in finance. But remember, our goal here was to give you a blitz turbocharge amount of information in a short amount of time, because you guys are all busy, and we're hoping that there is enough here for you where we can slow things down a little bit and organize a demo, hopefully with more people from your organization, where we address very specific things. Either, Bill, you went through this way too fast during the lunch and learn, I want to go through it slowly, or I didn't see you address X. Where's my WIP analysis? What if I want to look at cash cycles by customer or by product class and see how long it takes me to realize my cash, that kind of stuff, costed bombs, all kinds of different things we can look at for you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jessica. Jessica, people are willing, and if anybody has lodged any questions, I can field those, and otherwise we can let people get back to their days.
We do not have any questions, but thank you, Bill, for today's presentation, and thank you always for all of your Portus information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming today, and we hope to see you next week and the following ones after that to learn more about Portus. So thank you, everyone, and have a good day.